First talk, who tests your tests, it will be given by Shirish today. And Shirish has been a thought worker for the last 2.5 years, and he has an overall development experience of 6 years. He works on secure development and security testing, and also his forte is finding security vulnerabilities in web application. So, also to get started, yeah, and a little more trivia about him. So when he's not busy with his hands on the keyboard, he plays the tabla and also enjoys the Indian classical music. So all yours.
Thank you.
Hello. Can you guys hear me well? Alright. Alright. So who will test your test? Yeah, she already introduced me. I work in ThoughtWorks. I am a developer. I worked on a couple of technologies. I mean, more than a couple of technologies in multiple parts: Scala, Spring, Play Framework, Java, Ruby, Cucumber. I am contributor to JUnit, Symfony, PHP, all kind of development. After the introduction, I think as in any relationship, we need to talk. So there are quite a few things which have been bothering me for last couple of years. Basically, in the relationship between developer and a tester. Right? So before we get into things, let me ask you some questions. Does your project has an automation suite? How many projects do you have? All right, cool. That's a good number. How often you need to change or update test in that test suite? Or is it like once you do it and that's done?
Yeah.
Do you ever need to change that?
All the time.
Okay, all the time, never.
For different releases,
Okay.
things have changed and the tests are failing.
Right,
We
right.
revisit.
Right, between different releases. Okay. Do you feel comfortable with doing that then? No. Okay. Interesting. Okay. How do you think is the code quality of your test suite? Is it brilliant code quality, or at least good or bad?
Bad.
Okay. 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 And the most important thing, do you trust your test and all of your test framework? Okay. Completely. Okay. 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 So that's enough of questions. So I now have an idea, or that's some kind of juggling of memory. Let's talk. Okay. Let's start with why do we write tests in the first place? Okay. So here are some of the things which are important, and hence we write tests. Tests prove that code actually works. So whatever code developers or anybody has written, our tests prove that code works for given piece of functionality, right? Second is tests reduce bugs, right? When I have tests, they catch bugs early. In the development or in the testing, there are hardly any bugs which goes to production. Or even if there are bugs, so the test is a safety net which catch these bugs early. There are different kind of tests. Let's say unit test, it will be catched at unit test level, integration test level, or acceptance test level, or user journey test level. But it will be catched by these tests, right? Hence we write tests. From a business perspective, tests reduce cost of change. Why? Because it reduces cost of development from a developer perspective. Because now I know that there is some safety net and I can do ruthless refactoring. I can develop features and don't be worried about too many testings, because already there is a safety net or breaking something else. Because I know that if I break something else, there is something which will catch that. That will let me know. I can test these things in different environments or in different stages, because I already have the confidence of these things working in those things, right? So that's from business perspective, that is a very important thing why we have tests. From a developer perspective and sometimes from a QA or automation perspective, test allows us to refactor a lot of things. Test allow us to, let's say, even make some environment changes, because If my code doesn't run now, that means there is something wrong. I can change my code, development code as a developer, because I know something is going to catch it, right? So these tests give us the premises to do that. These tests give us premises to refactor things. And because of all these things, test helps in faster development. By the way, here development doesn't mean the code development, the whole feature development till the production release. Everything helps us in that. And the important is test reduces fear. Whenever I want to deploy something on production, because I know my tests are there to catch things, I don't need to worry too much. Right? I just run my test suite and I should be able to deploy things on production. And that ties back to the earlier faster development or faster releases. That's what tests are for. There is a very good article on Java. There are top 10 reasons to write unit test. It doesn't necessarily tie to just unit test, but it's a very good article. I have kept these things into resources in the last slide, so you can have a look at it. Now, given all these things, why do we write tests? Now let's see what I hear every day on projects. Yeah, it failed? Yeah, don't worry, just re-trigger it, right? Run it 2 times and it will pass, right? I have seen things like this, like we had run the same build for 9 times, okay? Re-trigger 9 times, and it will pass at 9 times, right? How strange is that? Oh, it failed. Strange. It passed on my machine. Right? I bet every QA hears this by any other person. Right? It works in my machine. I know. It fails, but usually it's because of time. If I run in India, it will pass. If I run in like on-site person runs it, it will fail because their time zone is different. Wow. Right? Now, when we come back to why we write tests in the first place, right? Let's go through one by one. Okay, tests prove that code actually works. Now, when I have these kind of tests, now test just proves that code sometimes works, right? Not all the time, right? Now you have to think, if does that the delta between all the time and sometime, is that a production environment where I want to run those tests or run that code? Okay, test reduces bugs, but based on the flakiness, I tending towards test itself might have bugs, right? I mean, why would they fail on, like, the code is same? Why would they sometimes pass and sometimes fail, right? Test reduces the cost of change. I'm kidding. I mean, if I want to, like in your case, we don't change ever. If I want to introduce something, I need to test everything again. I need to change so many things. I need to write so many tests and do things like. So that's one of the most important thing, which from a business perspective was important. That gets a little trickier then, right? Test allows refactoring, right? When I code and I check something in or I run test, now when a test fails, I'm not sure if I broke something because of I changed something or it's just flaky tests, right? Because even like if I run it twice, it might pass. Now I'm not sure as a developer if it's because of my code or the code which I introduced or it's really a flaky test, right? It's almost nothing for me. It doesn't guarantee anything for me. Testing helps in faster development? No, actually then testing is slowing me down because I'm just trying to figure out, even along with writing code, I'm also figuring out, is the test correct? Why is failing, why is passing, why is failing, why is passing, is passing, failing? I have no idea when to stop writing code. When I don't know, should I call my story done because the test is passed twice on CI? I don't know because it might fail third time. Right? Test reduces fear, but I have heard this so many times. Don't touch that code. Okay, that's working fine. We don't want anybody to touch that code because then you will break something. Right? Why is that fear coming? Right? If we have good tests, you don't need to worry about that, right? Because if your tests are robust, you don't need to worry about anybody touching your code because it's going to break if there is misuse of code, right? Now all of these things, right? Why these things are important in the first place? So the most common reason for this is called non-deterministic tests, or they are also called as flaky tests. Okay, we say our test suite is flaky. These are non-deterministic tests. Why these things are problem? Why flaky tests are problem? Is they are harmful tests. They do more bad to your project than any good. Okay, so I mean we'll talk about why these are more harmful than good in coming things. They break your trust. Not just on that particular test, but from the whole test suite, right? Because now you don't trust your test suite. Earlier, if your test suite was perfect, it was running all the times and catching bugs when they are real bugs, you could just run that suite and say, yeah, this functionality is ready to go into production. But now you can't, because when test run is not enough. You don't know if it's just passed or it's really some test was misconfigured just to make it pass, right? But now a red bill doesn't mean anything anymore, right? They destroy the value of full automated regression. Now, even if you have an automated regression, you still need to go and check things manually, right? Because these were flaky tests. You don't know that green is really green and red is a really red, right? They give you illusion of success, right? Because let's say I change something and my test pass, yeah, everything is good, but that functionality might break in the production. But more importantly, they also give you the illusion of failure. When your code is perfectly working fine, you can spend endless hours trying to see why that test is failed, while there is no problem of anything. Like you go and check manually, everything is working fine. You go and run the test fails, right? You spend countless hours of debugging just to find that tests were badly written or there was problem in test. I think more like I would rather say this is more risky than giving the illusion of success, in my opinion, at least from a developer's perspective. And they see the agile thing or any project, it has its own culture. Any organization has its own culture, and every project has its own culture. And having flaky tests promotes both bad culture, because it gives a sense to people that it's okay if you have a red bill. It's okay if your tests are failing sometime. It's okay if your code, if you find some things in production, right? While it's not, right? That's why, I mean, if we are a tester, if we are a QA, we should be, I mean, if I find a bug in production, it should be like, why it missed, right? Not like, yeah, I know it fails at some time, right? If I'm a professional tester, if I'm a professional developer, I should be confident on what things I write, what things I deliver to customer, right? Customer is paying me, and if a customer can't trust me, I mean, heck, like, forget about customer, if I don't trust me, right? That's a serious failure, and that this flaky test promotes that bad culture of living in failures. Right? Yeah, so we know why these things are problem. Now let's see what are the most common things which promotes this flaky test. One is lack of isolation. I am sure you must have seen things like, okay, so one test set up some data and then rest of the test just asserts on that data. Or there is some common things in the application which every test try to think on, right? That's, I think, one of the most major reason of flaky test. Now you can't guarantee the order in which tests run, because that's not efficient. If you dictate the order of tests, hence I think that's lack of isolation is more important thing. The flip side of it is shared state in application. So your tests are not independent, but then there are some things in your application code which use the, let's say, singleton kind of things, right? Where if I log in as first user, now in whole system I am logged in. Now anything which asks me for basic, it will give me based on what is the shared state of the application, right? Though in application it's fine, that's how what a functionality has supposed to be, but for tests it's bad, because then it depends on what, if I change something in one test, now I don't know what's going to happen in other tests, right? That promotes non-determinism in tests. Asynchronous behavior like Ajax request, right? You don't know when things are coming back, right? You just wait and sleep. Right? I have seen sleep so many times in our code. I mean, I have come to a realization that I hate that sleep keyword anymore. Right? It's just indefinite sleeps, and almost every test has sleep. And I have seen tests which passes if I increase sleep time. Right? I mean, why? Why would any professional programmer would want to do that? Any professional coder or tester would like to do that, right? External systems calls, again, these systems are not in our control. We don't have, let's say, test environment. We might need to call production environment, and then we don't know what is the latency and everything. This is one of the major reasons of flaky test as well. So these are usually part of integration test, but yeah. Then time related things, as we were talking earlier, that it passes if it's run in India, if it fails if it's run different, if especially if the time zone changes or daylight saving time changes, my test fails, all these kind of stuff, right? These are again one of the causes of flaky tests. Now, how to fix these flakinesses? We know what are the problems, what causes these things. There are plugins people have developed, flaky test handler plugin, which rerun failing test till it pass. Right? Do you think this is the way to actually fix the test? Definitely not. I mean, don't do it. Just because it will pass, you have a hope that it will pass at 10th run, doesn't mean you have to run it 9 times, right? Don't ever. This is not a fix. Okay, this is just delaying the problem or shadowing the problem. Martin Fowler has a very good article on how to fix these non-deterministic tests. Again, this link has been put in resources. I would recommend go ahead and read that. So it's a little old article, 2011, but it's still completely relevant to what we do every day. Okay? So now, see, this is the mentality. Do not think that your build randomly failed. Okay? Think that your build randomly passed. Okay? Because when you start thinking that I see that it's green, but I don't know if it's green, right? Because then, like, if you think like this, it randomly failed. It proves, yeah, I know it's randomly failed. Let me re-trigger. I give it another try. Let me give it another chance, and it might succeed. Don't do that. Say it's randomly failed because you know there are things which are not completely the way they should be, right? That's a mentality different we need to have. Quarantine the flaky test. What is quarantine? Basically, for any epidemic, we have an area where we know people who have been infected. So some of your tests from your test suite are infected with flakiness. Quarantine them. Make them separate from your the tests which you know or you are confident or they pass when there is right, and fail, of course, when there is bug, right? So quarantine differentiate between tests which you trust and differentiate tests between you don't trust that much. Okay, don't delete them. They are still useful because you wrote them because there was some functionality, there was some use case of it. Don't delete it, but just quarantine these things. Now you have two test suites to run. One where you trust completely, and one you don't trust completely. Now that suite will still run. The quarantine will still run. but you know that there are some flakiness. Now you can trust the whole your normal test suit. That red means red now. Okay, and you are not so red or red green, whatever that is. That you can have a look at whenever it fails. Right? But keep only test n number of tests in quarantine. Don't put your whole test suite in quarantine. Right? Then that doesn't bring any value. As a team, you decide based on how many tests you have or how many test user journeys you have. Let's say at any given point of time we'll have only 5 tests or only 10 tests or 10% test in the quarantine. If we hit that limit, we allocate time to fix the quarantine test. Right? We drop anything else, we will drop everything else and fix this test. Because whatever is developed after that doesn't mean anything, because I don't trust whatever is already developed on. I don't know my base is correct, right? I can't trust whatever is developed on that base, right? So you have to have this quarantine. I mean, I have seen projects where people say, yeah, these tests are flaky, we know, but nobody spends time fixing those. And after 1 year or 2 years, it will still be the flaky test. Okay? Understand the nature of flakiness when you are fixing. I mean, you would be surprised that most of the flakiness is because the way we write tests, right? Like shared application state and lack of isolation, bad code, repetition, everything, right? Just understand, like, is it categorized as external system? Is it categorized as asynchronous behavior or wrong test or all these things, right? Just understand what is the nature of that flakiness to fix this test. You know, I mean, every QA, every tester believes that there are bugs in production code. Whatever people write, there are going to be bugs in production code. You should understand there might be bugs in test code as well. I mean, why not? Test is also a code, right? If you think that the code which has any developer written has bugs, why not test code? Test code can also have bugs. If you write logic in test code, which is bad in the first place, why don't you write test for your test? Right? You don't know if when I am writing a loop in my test to iterate over 10 times, are you know for sure it's running 10 times? How do you know it's not running 9 times or 11 times? Whenever you write logic of your test in your test, just write test for it. Or you have to make sure that it's not causing any kind of these flakiness. Okay? Refactor your test. I can't stress this enough. I have seen so much of bad test code. People just hate looking at tests. Why? Because it's just spaghetti code. It's so messy, nobody understands what's going on. People talk about refactoring your production code, the code which runs your business logic, but people don't talk about refactoring your test. Why? As a professional QA, as a professional tester, how can you tolerate bad code? Do you tolerate a feature badly implemented? Then how can you expect other people to tolerate bad test code? You should not, right? Fix all these things. Random waits, like wait, sleep. Get rid of them. Duplicate code. I do same things 10 times in 10 different places. Why? God objects, like setups, huge, like 1,000 line of setup. Seriously? Complicated code, like complicated, nobody understands. Only the person who has written code understand, and he has a right to say, don't touch my code. Why? Remember, a bug is a test you forgot to write. Right? As a QA, we all know that every bug in the production that we missed to test it. It's a test we forgot to write. And this is the problem I see with QA mentality. Okay, tester is a role. It's not a person. Okay, When you are testing things, that's a tester hat. Whenever you are writing test, you are developing your test. Right? It's a developer hat you need to wear. It's not like even I'll write test the way I want. It's not like that. It's not your kingdom to do anything. Right? You are not the king of testing kingdom. Right? Tester is not a field developer. Right? Especially college student or freshers who are coming in industry, they say, oh yeah, I didn't get into development, so let me try QA or testing. Tester is not a field developer. It's because you like testing, or you know how to find things. You have a passion of having a foolproof system, and hence you are a tester. Hence you are a QA. Not because you don't get to be a developer, you are a tester. If you have that mentality, you are not a tester even today. Then. Right? Love your test code. Why not? Right? There is no reason to not love your test code. If you hate your code, then you should understand there is something fundamentally wrong what I am doing every day. Right? Whatever I write, whatever I do, everything. Why do people love babies? Because they know that it's what my reflection is, right? Whatever code you write, it's your reflection. If you like to read that, if you think that I love doing this, then that matters. If you don't, then probably you should know that's not the job you are supposed to be in. Make sense? Treat your test code as production code. It's no less than your production code. Do not tolerate bad test code. If a fellow tester or a fellow developer has written any kind of bad test code, you should have a conversation with them. Right? Because somebody else has written it doesn't matter if it's a senior person or junior person. What matters is the quality of the code and how much you care about your system. Right? If you care about your system, you should not tolerate bad code at all. Take some time out, fix these things, talk to team, and get these things fixed. Right? Talk to the team if writing test seems hard. Okay? There's probably something bad or some problem in the application. So, for example, if you think that test is fine, test looks fine, but it keeps randomly failing, right? Now that might be a problem in the system, the way, let's say a developer has implemented shared functionality, let's say cache or anything. That cache is not being invalidated, or there is some mutable state in the application which is failing. Or there are things where people say it's not single responsibility and all those kind of code switches, right? It's not like developer has done something and it has come to QA, then you'll just talk about what code you are going to write, that's all. That's not. It's a team who is responsible for delivering the whole product, the quality product, right? So if you think that writing tests for this functionality or writing tests for this story is proving difficult, then you should talk to the team. There might be things which developer might have missed, or there might be ways to do the same functionality in a better form, right? Testing is fun. If I'm a developer by job, but I still do a lot of security testing, and testing is fun. It's so much fun just to see everything is building up, just to see, okay, it's exciting. Whatever I test now, I am totally confident on my system. Whenever it's going to production, it has to run, right? It is so much fun. It's so much excitement. Don't make people hate it. It's failing. Developer hates it. If acceptances keep failing randomly and we don't know why, right? People hate it when I don't understand the code he has written. He don't understand code somebody else has written. Right? Don't you hate it when you say bad code, or you spend 10 hours fixing something or just finding why the test is failing and you don't understand what is going on? It's so much frustrating, right? Don't make people hate these things, right? it's your code. It's a reflection of what you are. Love it. So based on what my experience is, that's what I feel. I just wanted to get these things out of my head. So that's all I have from my side. Any questions?
So my organization inherited some of test automation code from another organization. Okay, and we see this type of tests like flaky test, and there are more than 50,000 tests, and also we need to do the delivery as well, along with the running the regression. So if I click on any of the module, okay, and if I run that test,
Yes.
it got failed. Then I go into that test, and if I see that the actual test was to do some the call which that test required to do is from another node,
Yes.
and something has changed into that node.
Yes.
Yeah, and that got failed.
Yes. So yeah. So if I understand your question correctly, how to go about fixing these?
Yeah. So if you have like more than 50,000 tests in that case, and you have actual delivery as well.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, what happened? It got failed, but you have already delivery to do, and then
Right. What is the meaning of delivery?
yeah. So
That's the meaning. That means you have to deliver
some
working
features,
code.
the new functionality or anything.
Right. The new functionality or like what it, and it should be working, right? So if it's failing, that means it's not working. So that delivery is anyway going to be slipped, or whatever you are saying I am delivering, that's not true, right? So I mean the way you can do, like, it's very good thing to have so much of test coverage. So what you can do is start marking these things. So anyway, if it's failed, you know you have to debug it anyway. Now if you think that everything looks fine, and if you just while debugging you understand it's a flaky test, start marking these things as quarantine. Start marking these things, start tagging these things. Now when next time it fails, you know I have debugged it and I have marked them as flaky test. Okay, but as we talked about it before, you have to find some time doing this.
Yeah.
Now you have to go to your manager or whoever it plans your iteration or work. Tell them, okay, it seems like we have so many things, we have so many tests, but out of these things, these tests are failing. Now we have to spend some time fixing that. Otherwise, we don't trust our delivery. If, as a QA, if you say that I can't trust or I can't sign off whatever is going on, I don't think anybody has a right to say it has to go.
Yeah. And the big issue is that if you run those tests and it got passed,
Yes.
but there is a flakiness in the test. I mean, they are showing the wrong result. I mean, the actual functionality is not working, but the test does not have that much good assertion.
Yes.
In that case, you are in big trouble as a QA, because I am not one who created those tests.
Right.
I have inherited from someone.
Right.
So in that case, it
Yes, and that will come after you have spent some time with that test, suit, whole test suite. You probably then slowly, you have to give it some time. Then you will slowly understand, okay, what areas are covered. So I don't know if it generates the reports.
it generates
Yeah,
the unit
what kind of code it is covered. It has covered what side, what functions. Probably that will give you a better idea. But you have to go through the code to understand how much you can trust that code. You have the test code, but that trust is my trust in my code will be different than his trust on the code. Now you have to see for yourself how much do you trust that test suite. And of course you have to plan for time to fix those things.
Yeah.
You can take some initiatives. Say every day, let's say after work, you can talk to 2-3 other people. If you have people who have similar problems, say, okay, let's try things. Let's try things for 1 hour. Let's say every day 1 hour for a week. See how we can fix it or how much we can do. And based on that, we can go to manager and say, okay, see, these are the problems we see, and based on whatever time we spend, it seems like this is how much it's going to take. And give them the benefit that right now we don't trust. Hence, we need to check everything even after we run the test, that time will be reduced when we fix these things. There will be things where there will be other things which will affect that decision, but I think that's what at least what you can do.
Yeah, my question is on the similar lines. So you talked about refactoring your tests. Now, how can you make sure that the tests you have refactored are in the correct shape?
Right.
Because going forward again, you are going to add new functionality, new features, and the test code will get messed up again.
Yes.
So this is the area which you have to touch periodically. We can't say, okay, this is refactored. Now I don't have to look at it again. And the second thing, there will be features coming in from the business side. And business will ask, what is the value I'm getting out of it? Because there is a code which we have to refactor, not just the test code, but the production code as well. So that way, how will you convince business to refactor your specs or to get all the people on the same page?
Right. So to your first part of the question, once you refactor, what happens after that?
Yeah.
It's not like you just refactor and you leave everything there to like other people come and change everything or again write bad code on that. So for example, if you refactor your test, let's take an example of having logic in your tests, right? If you think that, let's say you have a custom small test framework which you build on top of something which helps you yourself. Now that framework should have its own test because that's the logic, right? Now how often you change that logic? Now if you change that logic, your test should fail, right? So now whenever somebody comes and change those things, your test should fail, right? Now ultimately, of course we don't want to go into infinite recursion where test for test, test for test, test for test, right? You have to ultimately trust something. So I can trust, okay, if I write a normal assertions, they are going to be fine. What I am not sure is the logic which I'll write in those tests. Hence I'll write tests for it. But the assertion part you have to trust. Now if you can't trust a fellow developer, then probably you need to have a conversation with them, developer or QA for that matter. Whoever writes the code, I'm just using term developer as whoever writes the code. Whoever writes the code, you have to talk to team to let them understand. So even while refactoring, right, it has to be team responsibility, not one person going in Himalaya doing all the refactoring and coming back and showing code. It has to be team's responsibility. Everybody should sit together or they should refactor so that they understand the importance of it. Now, from business perspective, I think the most important part any QA can say is I don't trust these things anymore. Right? If you say that I don't trust these things, I can't put my mark that this is certified to go in the production, then even client will think, I think client should think, okay, I pay these people to trust or test these things, and they now after testing, they think that I can't trust or this is not certifiable. Right? That becomes the business risk. And hence, then it depends what kind of business risk, how much, what is the functionality, how important that is. But then at least the way you can highlight that client is, if we don't trust these kind of things, we need to spend some time to bring that trust in. And ultimately that will reduce our next delivery time. Because right now, even if I run that whole test suite, I still go and test manually. If I do, every release I spend a day testing things manually. If I spend 2-3 days to refactor these or fix all the flakiness, or all the next things, I will trust at least the test suite I built now. Right? So that's the way you can convince client. And of course, as I said, there will be, every project has different case. You have to come up with, based on your relationship with client, you have to come up with the argument what you can talk to client.
So actually the point was the feature is working fine, but the test, the way those are written, those are not in a good condition. Everything works just fine, and that's what business wants. Your feature is working, acceptance criteria is all met. Then what is your problem?
Yes, the problem is, you can tell the client, we will not catch when something changes in that. Right? Then you don't, it again comes to trust. You can't trust it because you don't catch any bugs. Right? and hence there is that those tests are almost useless tests. If they never fail, I think it's a common thing in any development or any test development. You have to see that test fail. Otherwise, there is no use of that test. So if those tests never fail, they never catch any bugs, they are useless tests.
Regarding the complexity of the tests, now everything is just working fine. There are no bugs as such. There is no flakiness. But still, QA thinks, while reading those specs, those are not in a readable shape. Then if I want to make it better so that the next person who is going to add specs, more specs to it, that thing also needs to be considered, right?
Right.
So I was talking about that particular point. How can we give the weightage to that readability of your test code?
That comes to if I'm writing new test code, I think the important part what the mentality of people is this. People should not think that tester is a failed developer. If you are writing test code, you have to wear a developer hat. It's code. There is no difference between test code and production when you are writing it. It has to follow some rules, right? And so sorry, we are running a little out of time. I would be more than happy to talk about these things. I'm really passionate about these things because I have burned so many times because flaky tests. So feel free to talk to me. Feel free. These are the resources. Martin Fowler has written a very good blog on how to fix these flaky tests. There is a very good blog how a Go team, Go is a ThoughtWorks product, they were able to fix these kind of flakiness in their tests. The one which I showed, top 12 reasons to write unit tests. There are a couple of other things. Creating and maintaining automated acceptance tests is a very good talk by Jay Zambal and Badri, who are our ThoughtWorks Studios guys. I think that's all. Just catch me offline if you have any questions. I would be more than happy to talk about it. Right? Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Shirish, for a wonderful talk. We just have a small token of appreciation for him. We have a tea break that's coming up for 10 minutes, which is right outside this room. We request you to take a couple of minutes to give us feedback for this session. So we have the QR codes put up over here right on both the doors. So you can scan them on your mobile and go to the feedback app. Or in case if you do not have a smartphone, we also have a laptop that's put up over there with the feedback URL. You can just take some time out to give us feedback. Thank you.
I'll assess.
इधर वन मोर सामने. Okay, thanks.
Hey, एक बार.